I spent my whole damn life in the city. I could go for broke, but the capital is in me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. Anywhere I go, DC's coming with me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. I could go for broke, but the capital is in me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. Anywhere I go, DC's coming with me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. I could go for broke, but the capital is in me.
Welcome, everyone, to District Divided, a DC Sports podcast. More specifically, a Washington Commanders podcast. I am Amit. That is KDot, and this is the last episode before the NFL draft. Except we are going to be doing a live stream for the NFL draft. We plan to do it for the entire first round. It is going to begin 7:45 p.m. Eastern time, so 15 minutes before. Please come hang out with us. We're going to have multiple guests that are fans of the Commanders, fans of other teams as they make their picks to get the whole NFL landscape. We got a correspondent that is going to be at the Commanders watch party over at Franklin Hall in DC. So we're going to check in with him to be able to get a feel for how people react to the pick. Maybe he talks to people. We don't know. We don't know. KDot, you want to say a little more about the live stream here?
Yeah, don't leave us fucking hanging, guys. Like we're going to do a live stream. I don't want to be one of those like sad videos where it's just us in a room by ourselves. Nobody's watching. I mean, we're still going to have fun. It's going to be a recorded episode.
We're going to have
be
a
awesome.
blast.
But like live comment mailbag. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to be at the controls. So watch what the fuck you say. Because you might not make the pod. But overall, like we want to be able to engage with you guys live. We give you guys feedback and everything and be able to answer your questions right then and there. Or have responses to whatever your thoughts are. I just think it's going to be so much fun. And there's been so much build up to this damn draft. Let's just get through this finish line together, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And tell you what, maybe even a couple of you, if you're just like, hey, I want to jump in, maybe, just maybe, right? Who knows? Come hang out with us. Let's have a good time. It's a Commander-centric episode and a long one at that. I think we're going to have a lot of fun. So please come join us. That's Thursday, 7:45 p.m. for the entire first round is the plan there.
Mm-hmm.
The focus on this episode is going to be Jayden Daniels was on Nightcap with Shannon, Sharpe, and Chad Ochocinco, formerly Chad Johnson. Talked a little bit about his future, and he's been quite the topic recently in the past few days. So we're going to get into that, maybe get into the agent stuff, the Top Golf, all that jazz. And then, of course, we have a mock draft. This is the mock draft episode where KDot and I are going to basically co-GM, share the screen, and we are going to go through picks together. And we're going to see how cohesive that is or how chaotic that is.
JJ.
We'll find out. But before we begin this episode, hell of a long intro today, apologies. If you could please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, comment as you always do, have the comment mailbag, the after the pod as always. And KDot?
Share this shit. Share it. Share it. Share it.
Share it. Share this shit, please. And so without further ado, let's get into it. First things first, KDot, let's go ahead and do this mock draft. Okay, are you ready?
Yeah. I mean,
I've asked you 12 times. Perfect.
Yeah, I mean, the most fireworks are going to be right here at the beginning. Because what are we going to do, bud?
What are we
gonna
do? Okay, so you guys should be able to see my screen. I've selected the Commanders. We're on ProFootballNetwork.com because I do not pay for PFF. So, are you ready? We're going normal speed, slow, fast. What are you thinking here, KDot?
We can do normal speed just because we could talk through in between the picks, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
that sounds good to me. All right, so here we are. Caleb Williams has been taken 1 overall.
Off the board. No one has offered us a trade.
Okay, which is fun because when we both have gone through this our separate times, we have been offered a trade from the Patriots before, which was, I believe, pick 3, pick 34, and their future first. Would you have taken that, KDot?
In a heartbeat.
In a heartbeat.
In a heartbeat.
But
I think it.
Go ahead.
But I think it goes to fundamentally what the issue is with this pick when it comes to me and you. Which
Correct.
is how far apart do we feel as though the quarterbacks are?
Mm-hmm.
I know you don't. I know you believe that there's a gap. There's Jayden Daniels, everybody else, and then Caleb Williams number 4 for no fucking reason. And then for guys like me, the idea that I could get extra value and still pick one of these top 3 guys, I mean, top 3 in the tier below Caleb.
Correct. Yeah.
Has me ecstatic. Like, yeah, give me more to pick up one of the dudes that I'm going to be completely happy with.
Yeah. And so I agree with you, KDot, that if these quarterbacks are viewed very closely by the front office and by the coaching staff, you take that kind of trade. You take one of the remaining two quarterbacks of Jayden Daniels, Drake Maye, JJ McCarthy. You stay at pick 3 and you take one of them. You get some extra stuff for next year. I agree. In my case, I think Jayden is head and shoulders above these guys. So maybe I don't take that if I truly feel that and I'm Adam Peters or I'm Dan Quinn, whomever. But that's how I view that. So we do have pick 2. KDot.
Is this our mock or what we think the Commanders are going to do mock?
Let's do what we think the Commanders will do, at least for this pick.
Okay,
at least
so
for this pick.
I was usually going with the theory that I thought Drake Maye made the most sense, played in that what do we call it? The air raid system there at UNC. I look at Jayden Daniels as a really high boomer bust player.
Okay.
If he's booming, he's booming. And then if the busting means career's over. And then beyond that, JJ McCarthy, who you guys know is from an intangible standpoint. I love that. But then John Keim came out today or the last 24 hours, and he's been saying how he's been sort of, you got to kind of read the tea leaves. But what he's basically saying is that, like, it looks as though Drake is third, and it's between Jayden and it's between JJ.
And we'll go ahead and talk more about that once
we
talk about Jayden with the nightcap and stuff like that. So for the time being, let's go with Keim's best guess. Excuse me. Let's go with Jayden.
The favorite is Jayden.
Right. Favorite's Jayden. We continue. Let me know if you need me to pause at any moment, KDot.
No, I mean, I think we're good. It's just seeing who is going to fall there to us. I know that I'm looking at offensive tackle at the top. Like at this particular point in the draft, if the Commanders were to package some of those, the second round pick, maybe a third or whatever, to move back up to get one of the top tackles, I'm completely cool with it. Or maybe Brock Bowers.
Yeah. I mean, I would be completely cool with it as well. The only thing is I was looking at our top 30 visits and a lot of the guys that we're meeting with, okay, we are over here, but real quick, a lot of the guys that we're meeting with are later rounds. Yeah. So I think they're almost prioritizing just a later part of the draft and going, we're probably okay. I don't know how much work they've done on all the left tackles, but they may end up being okay with a Jordan Morgan, for example, or somebody, or the tackle from BYU, Kieran. I'm gonna butcher his name. Or not BYU. I'm sorry, Yale. Kieran Omega G or something like that. Sorry, apologies, but could be fine with either one of those guys in the second round. So here we go, KDot. We have a trade offer from the Panthers, pick 39 and pick 101 for pick 36 and 222. Would you be interested in doing that?
So I'd probably hide it right now to see who's on the board or who might fall to us. Like, who do we think the Panthers will choose with this particular pick, right?
I have hit it. Yep.
All right, so
go ahead.
But we can, if we were to let go, we go down to 39, so 3 picks. I like Keon Coleman a lot. I like Ladd McConkey, but they're not necessarily the position I'm looking at, right? So, like, Jordan Morgan is the guy that I probably mock to us here at this particular point more than any other person.
Right. And I think considering the run on tackles that has happened already, if we were to scroll up, you're going to see a number of tackles. Olafashano going 6 in this case. Is that over Joe Alt? Wow. Yeah, Joe Alt over here instead. Interesting. Troy Fatano, there's JC Latham, Maris Mims. KDot, as much as I like the idea of moving up a full 100 spots and being able to maybe land Jordan Morgan, the Panthers haven't picked yet. A big problem for them was protecting Bryce Young last season.
Yeah.
I would guess it's one of these two guys. I don't necessarily want to risk that. I would not take this trade, and I would take Jordan Morgan here.
All right, do me a favor. On that player pool, can you click on offense?
Yes.
And then let's look at offensive tackle.
Sure.
All right, so Morgan, Paul.
Rosengarten is in for a visit as well.
Yeah. So, like, of this list, I think I love Patrick Paul. I love Roger Rosengarten. I like Blake Fisher quite a bit, but that'll be later on. But yeah, the gap between Morgan and Paul might be a little too much for us to lose out on him. So I'm okay if we want to pick Jordan Morgan at this point.
Okay. Hey, so far, so good. 2 picks in. A little conflict between myself and KDot. We are taking Jordan Morgan. Let's see what happens at pick 40 here. Okay. No trade offers. Panthers clearly pissed off that they weren't able to get their tackle. They do take Keon Coleman, who KDot really likes. And here we are again. Now at pick 40, what do we want to do here? We've taken the quarterback, right? Jayden Daniels in this situation, but who knows? Maybe it's JJ or Drake come Thursday. We've taken an offensive tackle. We feel we've addressed that position with Jordan Morgan. Other remaining needs, edge rusher, corner, tight end, primarily. And if you can get a value wide receiver, you look at that. What do you want to do over here, KDot?
So looking at my board, positions would be, I'm still not getting any offensive lineman could still come on down, right?
Mhm.
But right now, corner, and I think I'm probably going to go defense with this. So how about we hit the defense tab and
Okay.
see who's there? So TJ Tampa is a dude that I've had up there. Ezra Cooper is another name that I think everybody here in Washington has at least, if you've done a mock draft as a Commanders fan, you have selected Ezra Cooper at some point in time.
Right.
The idea of getting somebody like him to pair up with a Bobby Wagner and learn on that end would be pretty awesome. But then I also Junior Colson is another dude who's been rising up the ranks.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of like him and a couple other guys there. I'm wondering if they're going to be there for our next pick. So like Marshawn Kneeland.
Yep.
If I had to make a pick, I think it's down between TJ Tampa and Edgerrin Cooper. I'm more leaning Tampa because I think that we can get a linebacker later if we really need it.
Okay. So here, KDot, once again, and I'm also pairing this with some of the top 30 visits that we've done. Yeah. I know we visited with or had Marshawn Kneeland in for a visit. And this is where the rankings get very interesting to me. So I think if we were using just purely this website's rankings, I would wait and not take Marshawn Kneeland. I think he'd be available at 67.
Yeah.
Using Ben Robinson's mock draft data, which again is over 1,000 mock drafts this year, Marshawn Kneeland is going anywhere from 40 to 48. Our next pick is 67. Marshawn Kneeland's been mentioned by John Keim before. And so I am thinking maybe we go that route. Yes, he might be available in the third round over here, but realistically speaking, I don't think he's going to be available once we get to 67. Team seems high on him. That's what I would do. But I'm also fine with either TJ Tampa or Edgerrin Cooper. I'll let you decide this one.
No, I'm going to let you do it because I'm much more of the idea in my pick 67. If things shape up the way that I'm hoping they shape up right here, I'm going tight end all the way in that position.
I'm in complete agreement.
So, I'd say that I'd say the highest guy on my board is TJ Tampa of the guys remaining.
Okay, so TJ Tampa then instead of Kneeland?
If you're forcing me to make the pick, then yeah, TJ Tampa.
I'm forcing you to make the pick, so let's go ahead and do TJ Tampa. Okay, so we get a corner, which we know we've needed for quite some time over here. This, of course, gets added to a Joe Witt Jr. defense, Dan Quinn defense, Jason Simmons, secondaries coach. So that's what we're adding over there. Here we are. We are getting closer to 67.
Colson gone. Cooper gone. Marshawn Kneeland is gone.
He is gone. Okay.
And Peyton Wilson also gone.
Cool. Look
at
us.
Offer. Saying no to that immediately.
Yep. I agree. We have one more after it.
I'm not good with not saying yes to that either.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, cool. So we have taken care of quarterback, offensive tackle. You can never have enough corners. So if another corner is there of interest, open to it. This is where we talk about probably tight end, right? Which is what we were discussing.
Aren't you a Kitchens guy?
I am a Kitchens guy. And I would certainly, he hasn't done a top 30 visit with us, but I do believe in the talent. Mm-hmm. Nothing like a safety from the U, if you ask me. But yeah, I mean, let's have a look at the tight ends as well, because we just discussed that.
Yeah.
So
no, definitely where I want to go.
Right. So we have Ben Sinnott, Jatavion Sanders still there. Okay. I don't know. And it does seem like maybe more of a third round pick. So again, when we go to grinding the mocks, Ben Robinson's website, with the mock draft data, Jatavion Sanders outside the top 50 right now. Jared Wiley outside the top 50 right now. Eric All, tight end Iowa, outside the top 50 right now. We do pick in 11 more slots. Okay. Or I'm sorry, in 11 down. Okay. So we're at 67, 78. I personally don't mind taking the remainder of those three guys at 78. They may all be available at 78. Unless you feel Jatavion Sanders or one of those guys is head and shoulders above, let's not risk it. Let's take one of them. What do you think?
I think Sinnott and Sanders are a cut above the other guys. And I also don't want to be, because outside of Brock Bowers at any given point in time, there might be a run on these tight ends.
Okay.
I don't want to be. I still want to have my pick of the litter.
Okay.
Ben Sinat's a dude that I've been pretty high on going through, but it also feels as though Jatavion Sanders is somebody the team likes.
Mhm.
What do you think?
I would go Sanders because I know he's at the top 30 visit. I've seen him in big spots. This is the personal preference of just like the Texas games I saw.
Yeah.
I think he's a stud. I would go ahead and take Jatavion Sanders here.
Then I'm good with it. And even if it feels as though it's a bit of a reach, I just don't want to be on the.
Got to get your guy. You've said
guy.
it many, many times. If you got a guy, get your guy.
So they think that there's some. I don't know if I've seen Jeremiah Trotter's name come off yet.
No, and I think he is going to be available later. By the way, okay, here's another one. 107 and a third next year. I'm not trading with the Giants. Fuck the Giants. Yeah. So yeah. All right. So we have the Ensenada still there.
Now I double up on the tight end.
You're like, hey, you get both guys you really wanted.
Look, Cliff Kingsbury, by the end of his time in Arizona, had been running more 12 personnel than anybody in the league. There is a possibility you're gonna want. I mean,
fuck it, we're doing it. All right, we got him.
All right, that was all right. I don't know about that.
Too late. Here we go. We went rogue.
That was ridiculous. Okay.
We got Sanders. Maybe they can go to Top Golf together as teammates.
All right,
For
the record, I was just talking through it. I would have selected Jeremiah Trotter, but maybe he's
no, he's gone. He's gone. Cool. Well, hey, beauty of the draft, right? There we go. Amit Adam Peters made a pick on his own without consulting anybody.
Oh shit!
He jumped the gun, and
it's the Magic Johnson pick. Well, no, he'll have one.
Yeah, that's true. So to quickly recap, Jayden Daniels, Jordan Morgan, TJ Tampa, and the double threat of Jatavion Sanders and Ben Sinat at the tight end position.
So terrible.
I feel loaded at tight end now.
Yeah, okay, we should. Jesus
All right.
Christ, dude.
Cool. Go ahead. What would you like to do over here? Pick 100, the sixth in the top 100.
Do me a favor and go click on that offensive tab again.
Okay.
And let's rotate through some of these as far as the offensive tackle, offensive guard.
Sure. Okay. So
Blake
here
Fisher,
are the top ones here.
And offensive guard.
Brandon Coleman has come in, as well as Isaiah Adams, 4 top 30 visits. Just something of note. Now,
my top pick out of all these guys, which probably doesn't need to be the pick, is Zach Zinter. And Zach Zinter is the other guy from Michigan who's hurt currently. I don't believe he might not even play this year. If he does, it'll be a little while.
Okay.
I remember hearing about him. But from a talent standpoint, I've heard that this guy projects more as a late first, early second rounder.
And it just so happens that the reason he's fallen this far is because of the current injury. Is that right?
That's what I've heard. And once again, I might be getting him confused with somebody else because there are a lot of fucking names to remember, dude.
Now, I do just want to counter for a moment. I don't believe we've taken an edge rusher.
Yeah, which is definitely.
And Austin Booker, another guy that has come in for a visit with the Commanders. Depending on where you look, he should already be gone right now. So he definitely won't be back. If you like Zach Zinter, he's a 147 rank here. What are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on taking Austin Booker here? And then we can look to just propose a trade and move up into, early 4th or middle of 4th.
I mean, Zinter might still be there. What, we pick 139?
Yeah. Just if you're feeling nervous about
this
it.
Is
what
139. My bad.
We're currently on 100. We're currently on
100.
Yeah, next pick is 139.
Yeah, let's go to defense. Let's see. Let's
Okay, go to defense.
So
real quick.
yeah, I mean, if that's awesome, yeah, I'm good with it.
Okay, cool. We did that. Let me know if you want me to pause at any moment.
I'm still looking to see if Zach Zinter's name comes through off it. But
Okay,
I like
yeah,
Blake Fisher quite a bit. But we've already addressed that. Kate
let me
Stover's
switch over offensive tackle. 114.
2.
I've never been more excited for a 4th round pick than watching this board right now.
Yeah, and I looked it up. He broke his tibula on
Love
November.
the Bears pulling at the time Redskins. They've taken Jordan Travis in the 4th round, quarterback out of Florida State.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I saw that correctly. Okay, I want to
The
say I
guy's still
didn't.
there.
I want to say that Zach Center was there. Hold on, let's see.
I don't think I saw him get selected.
I don't think I saw it either. Yeah, just Jordan Travis. The Bears are idiots. All right, let's see.
So
The guard, there he is.
Yeah,
Doing it?
I want to pull the trigger on Zach Center.
Then I do too. Boom. Okay, taking Zach Center. What a great draft. I think we're more or less crushing it.
The 2 tight ends, bro. Come on. It's already over.
It's genius. It's genius. Zach Ertz mentors both of them to perfection. Then all of a sudden, 2nd-year guys, we don't know what we have at the tight end possession anymore outside of Zach Ertz and maybe the Cole Turner, who there are some Cole Turner truthers out there, of course.
I like Cole.
Yeah, no, okay, Cole's cool. Cole's cool, but he's also not necessarily the double tight end stack. I would be very curious as to how people feel about it in the comment mailbag. What do you want to do over here? 152.
152, I think we can get a little outside of the box a bit. There are a couple names I'm not sure if they've come off the board yet, but
Okay.
I around this area is where I was looking at Jalen Coker,
Okay.
wide receiver from Holy Cross,
Cool.
and
Let's have a look.
Xavier Thomas, the edge from Clemson.
Okay.
So
Jalen
Coker's
Coker's
right there. I like Coker quite a bit, but I'd also take a look to see if Xavier Thomas, the edge from Clemson, is there.
Let's see. And
He
Xavier
is as
Thomas is also there. And then we don't pick again until 222.
Being that we already drafted an edge just to keep things varied, I would go Jalen Coker.
Done. Okay. Any thoughts of trading up in the situation? No. Yes. Maybe.
No,
222.
I mean, not for the stance of this. Plus, there's a guy who I really want at 222 that I think is going to be there.
Okay. Who do you want at 222?
The best name in all the drafts, Storm Duck.
Storm Duck? I haven't even heard of Storm Duck. And I feel like I've been
motherfucking Duck, baby. Cornerback, Louisville. You get a name like that.
That's true. You got to take him.
You get a name like that around the dudes that we have coaching staff wise in that secondary. I'm sorry, Storm Duck's going to be a problem in this list.
That's an incredible name. That is an absolutely incredible name. I'm trying to think. 3 names I wanted to mention while we're waiting for this pick. Tyrese Knight, linebacker from UTEP, Rod Gaddison, corner from Western Carolina, and particularly Aneem Dankwa, offensive tackle from Howard. These guys, when looking at mocks, are honestly outside of the 7 rounds. So especially Aneem Dankwa, just because he is local, I would expect that we would get an opportunity to bring him in as an undrafted free agent. I think all 3 can be brought in as a potential undrafted free agent. So just wanted to throw their names out there. Storm Duck's available.
I know he was going to be. I mean, this is a dude that just entered the transfer portal like 3 days ago. So,
oh my gosh. Yes. Love this guy's energy. He doesn't know what he's doing. Like, this is great. He could be a commander. He could be a fucking what
He's
now? Kentucky Wildcat? I have no idea.
He's been all over, and I just got to say I like him. That name is something, man. Storm Duck.
Yeah, and I think we absolutely crushed this draft, to be honest. If we were to just look at our picks, I mean, talk about, I feel like the spine of this team is starting to look good, right? We get our quarterback of the future. The tight ends, those little wings, if you will. Again, double tight end. I think you're hating on it a little too much. The more I see it, the more I like it.
Yeah, I was just wondering whether or not whether or not a linebacker would have made sense. But that's just
no. Bobby's going to play for 10 more years. Don't worry.
Okay,
it's a 1-year deal after 1-year deal with us, over and over. TJ Tampa at 40. Then Jatavion Benson, Austin Booker, edge from Kansas, Zach Zinter, guard from Michigan, who, based on what KDot's heard, could have been a late 1st, early 2nd, but has the injury, so we feel we're grabbing a value over here. Jalen Coker, wide receiver, Holy Cross, and then, of course, Storm Duck, who really just brings the whole thing together. Without him, I'm not sure how this draft went.
Look, the Jatavion Sanders, Ben Sinnott situation is just, it's Aaron Hernandez, Rob Gronkowski. We just hope it ends better.
Yes, absolutely. Could not have said it better myself. Actually, I could have, but you know what?
The more I think about it, the more I like this is outside of the box.
I know you do.
I'm starting to fall in love with it.
I told you would.
Matchup nightmares, guys. And yeah. Then on the outside, Got your Terry McLaurin.
Listen.
Motion, Austin Eckler kind of doing his thing.
I mean, it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. It's
and
just
if it's Jayden Daniels, it's just even more like,
oh my gosh. I think you block as well. I mean, listen, there's just a lot you can do with that.
Better if it's JJ, but still, huh?
Okay, cool. And so that was the mock draft. And on that note, why don't we go ahead and talk about Jayden Daniels, because he did appear on the Nightcap, which is a show featuring Shannon, Sharpe, Chad Ochocinco, and occasionally Gilbert Arenas. Shout out Agent Zero. Now for this one, NFL centric, so Gilbert was not a part of it, but Jayden Daniels stopped by for about 15 minutes there. I want to say 15, 16 minutes on the Nightcap. Was asked some questions about, how the process has been so far. At one point, Chad Ochocinco mentions, hey, I had an epiphany that the Raiders are going to trade up to 2 and you're going to be taken. I was very curious to see how Jayden would react to that. They talk about Antonio Pierce a little bit. They do quickly mention the Commanders. KDot, what did you make of Jayden Daniels' appearance on the Nightcap? Anything stand out to you?
He handled himself amazingly. Now I was sitting there wondering how far is Unc and Chad gonna take this whole thing. I really wanted them to ask him about Topgolf. They just didn't. I just want to know about Topgolf. I want to know what happened at Topgolf. But just the way he handled the whole, like, even when you heard as far as the initial smoke that he had a team that maybe he rooted for that he really wants to go to, he's the 49ers. He's like, yeah, they don't need a quarterback. I don't need to worry about that. And then the way he handled the whole Raiders thing, I just thought was good. And the way he said that, like, hey, yeah, I don't see a way in which they can move up to go get me and that sort of, but I want to go anywhere and I'd be happy to go there. So that was nice to hear. Me and you have been going back and forth over the last few weeks about the smoke around Jayden Daniels and the agent and all the rest of this crap, right? I'm sure everybody at this point has heard enough about. They're probably sick and tired of it. And I think the thing for me was always, unlike you, how close I have the 3 prospects, that any one little thing can move you off of being in that zone.
Right.
And to me, it was just enough smoke where it was like, I'm good with bumping him down. But I will say that after hearing him speak, which is another thing, every time I do hear Jayden Daniels talk and that sort of confidence he has about himself and his abilities, and knowing what kind of matchup nightmare he is, it just makes me feel at ease with the type of player that he's going to be and the playmaker he's going to be. Because that's the thing. Before we did the mock draft, he is the single biggest boom or bust player to me in this draft. And I think that if it works out, you've got a transformative guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason I'm so high on him, KDot, is I don't feel that it depends on what you mean by bust, but I believe he has a high enough floor. Go ahead.
There are some really, really, so when we were going through the quarterbacks thing, there was something you said that I wanted to call you out on, but
that's
I felt
fair. There's a lot you could have called me out on.
There was something in particular I really wanted to call you out on, but I'm gonna let this ride because there's other things to talk about. Plus, I was so busy defending JJ. When you talked about happy feet, what was your definition of happy feet again?
Right. So my definition of happy feet was that you choose to bail from a clean pocket quickly, like quicker than you should, in my opinion. And it is my opinion. I'm at 32 from DC, just to be clear. But go ahead.
Jayden Daniels has the worst stats for that, damn near in the history of the NFL draft. Like him throwing from a clean pocket, I think is 22%. Like he leaves immediately. Like the thing, he loves to run. He's run more than any college quarterback, like in the history of college football, right? But he's also played for as long as he has.
I'll look that stuff up as well.
Yeah, please. To me, one of the best sources of information. I'm a huge fan of Ben Solak at The Ringer. And I love the way he breaks down tape. Me and him see a lot of things the same way. We disagree about some things, but some of his stuff about Jayden Daniels is, I just think, if you haven't seen it, you should look at it and pay attention to some of the numbers. It's just he wants to run. The thing with Jayden, though, is that in a lot of circumstances, the same thing we saw with like Sam Howell to a certain degree, or some guys that you see around the league. The case in point would be Justin Fields. There's a lot of cases where Justin Fields is just running. He's not necessarily going through the progressions the way he needs to. He sees daylight and takes off. There's a lot of that with Jalen. The thing with Jalen that's worked out so well is that he's such an amazing and incredible athlete that when he takes off, it usually ends up being something really, really good. So he'll run for a first down. He'll run for a touchdown. He'll make everybody miss on his way to do that. But one of the most frustrating things with Jayden Daniels when you look at his highlights is he has immaculate throwing numbers. But if you watch through like game tape, he could have easily had 12 to 15 more touchdowns. Like if he just wanted to throw them. But he's not waiting. He's just going. And my only thing with the boom or bust prospect of that is a lot of times when you see certain speed in college, it does not translate the same way in the NFL. I still think he's transformable as far as an athlete, but he's not going to be able to run away from defenders the same way he did in college.
Certainly.
And if that's going to be the case with that frame that he has, which he also admitted on Nightcap, yeah, I know every team, he said that every team had talked to him about what it is he needed to do to put on weight in a very good way, not anything that's going to be unhealthy or anything for him. That frame and his desire or want to run when it's unnecessary is to me what makes him a boom or bust. Bust meaning, and I don't want to wish this on anybody, but his style in not protecting himself lends itself, just from a science standpoint, injuries. And to me is like, he can be that transformative athlete, but unless he changes certain key elements about him, he's going to get hit a lot.
Sure. And I think he's aware of that. I think he's mentioned that. I've seen videos of him sliding, for example, that's already light years further than the last Heisman Trophy winner we took at 2 overall. So, and he's 6'4", so I do think that there is a lot of positive with him. Of course he's negative. None of these guys are truly, their final forms, if you will, if they're not at their ceilings yet. Of course not.
Of course.
And when I see that he's number 1 in QBR, for example, when I see the actual placement, the ball placement, which we've talked about, the feel of the game, it was different than QB prospects I've seen in years past. So including this year as well as years past. So that's where the head and shoulders for me come from. That's special. When he was on the pivot, and I want to talk about Caleb Williams' appearance on the pivot after the pod, when he was on the pivot with those guys, he talked about the difference between Arizona State, where he was developing, but he had that 1 year where his grandparents died during COVID, and it did affect him. He admitted to that, of course. And then going to LSU, because he graduated from Arizona State early. He knew there was a lot of turmoil over there. He ends up transferring to LSU. He said he could handle himself like a proper pro. And as he does that, things get better and better and better. And you see it culminates with the Heisman Trophy. Again, number 1 in QBR. Yes, he's working with Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr., both projected first-round picks. It is not abnormal for quarterbacks to be really good with really good wide receivers, and you hope to give him really good wide receivers. So I get where you're coming from. I will also double check the numbers myself. I'm more than happy to admit, like, hey, maybe he bails a hell of a lot more than I thought, and that would be a complaint of mine, to be objective. But I do think that also, not even think, Dan Quinn even said it was either the Combine or Pro Day to John Keim that he loves the way that Jayden Daniels processes and reads the game. He talks about looking off of reads and things like that. And then if you do see some of his nicer throws, he does have a guy running at his face and he stands tall and takes the hit and is still able to deliver a ball. So that's what I like.
So that's the thing that I'm absolutely pushing back on.
Okay.
Because the numbers just don't bear that. The numbers of him standing and delivering from the pocket just do not, it's not close. Like Caleb Williams, I think, is at 44%. Drake Maye's at like 50 something percent. And stand delivering, like, you're going to take the hit and you need to deliver this ball anyway, is 20 something percent for him. Like, it's not, that's the thing, is the numbers just, that's why I wanted to specifically say that there was the one thing that you talked about in that pod, as far as the happy feet, where I'm like, if that is your metric above all other metrics, or that's the thing that you're looking out for, the numbers themselves tell you that Jayden doesn't do that. But that being said, you have to give him the caveat that none of those guys are the athlete that he is.
Yeah,
no doubt. So like the desire to say, hey, why am I going to stand here and take the hit? If there is daylight and a touchdown here, I'm going to take it. It's just if those lanes close faster, if those players are a bit faster than he's used to, that can create a lot of doubt in a QB's head. My hope is that he's just that great an athlete that he can overcome those things, no doubt. And I don't want to think that this criticism is a criticism that makes me down on Jayden. It isn't. I still think from a boom or bust standpoint, he has the most likelihood to come into this league and over the course of his first, let's say, 10 starts, be a dude that is the number one person on ESPN, and holy shit, you see in the articles, Jayden Daniels has broken the NFL. He's the only dude of these guys that I could say could have that moniker.
Mm-hmm.
There's nobody close to that.
Which is why you hope to have faith in your coaching staff and you swing, which again is my opinion. Boomer bust for me is Drake Maye, just in terms of the level of inconsistency that now a lot of NFL experts are talking about and draft experts are talking about. So that's the bust, in my opinion, highest bust potential, if you will. But I get what you're saying. And what I'll do is, kid, I'll review what you're talking about, make sure I understand the definition of stand and deliver, just because whenever it comes to stats, the way people define things is very important. Stand and deliver is not a common, that's on an ESPN table. Let me quickly check that out. Like, I will need to figure out what that means, but then I'm more than happy to go through that.
Your pressure response. It's what you do when the pressure's on.
Because then the flip side is he's also number one against the blitz amongst all these guys, 17
Once again,
touchdowns, 0 picks. So like there's all
Yeah.
sorts of stuff that just
There's
goes
all
both
sorts
ways.
of things. And also the only other thing with Jayden Daniels that I just want to make sure we're putting, I would not necessarily say, I do think he incrementally increased as far as what his abilities were, but I think that if you're looking at him 2 years ago to compare to last year, it's not a growth. It's he changed. It was now maybe that's you grow so much that this is who you are now, or it could be that particular situation at LSU created a situation in which I'm going to have lights out numbers and this is what I'm at. I don't know. It's just when we're all like, Jayden Daniels handles himself like a professional. I hate that his agent put him in a situation in which I would have to question or put him down a peg when I have these guys so close. It's bullshit, especially when you have a dude that handles and composes himself to that level. And I do think whoever gets Jayden Daniels is going to get a hell of an athlete. I just hope the offensive line is great. And he's in a division in which the defenders are just a little bit slow.
Yeah, well,
That's it.
you know, I mean, the defenders are going to be fast. I expect him to adjust. We'll see. I think he's going to be great wherever he goes. I hope it's here. I've always said that for months now. I've always said I hope it's here, obviously. On that note, with the agent liking the tweet, wanted to quickly touch on John Keim's appearance on the Kevin Sheehan show, which KDot alluded to earlier. And he was asked about the Jayden Daniels agent stuff, and he described it as noise, and that a lot of people went from, you know, an emoji of the thinking face to Jayden doesn't want to be here. And he said that he hasn't heard that. He has no reason to believe that. He also, of course, the reason we love John Keim is because he caveats stuff and lets you know exactly where he is. So he said, I haven't talked to Jayden Daniels. So maybe he does not want to be here, but based on everything I know, again, this is why we love John Keim here, there's no indication that he does not want to be here. And then when you factor that in with the nightcap, him saying he's prepared to play anywhere that his name is called, that sounds like a good thing. And Keim had also mentioned this group, the front office coaching staff, ignores the noise. Remember what he called that liking of the tweet? Noise. So they ignore the noise. It has not affected the draft board. If they want Jayden Daniels, they will take Jayden Daniels. So just wanted to point that stuff out as well, that it has not been viewed as a big deal. This is according to John Keim and what he thinks. I think he has talked to a couple people, but it is primarily what he thinks. Let's add his caveat. I don't want him misquoted or anything like that. Right. But that is the takeaway from that is, hey, their draft board is their draft board. It was not affected by the agent liking a tweet. So if Jayden was one, Jayden is still one, most probably. If JJ's one, then JJ is still one for sure, because that, the agent liking the tweet wasn't going to hurt JJ. On the quick note, KDot, of JJ, Kevin Sheehan asked John Keim, hey, let's say Jayden's not the pick. Who do you think it would be between JJ McCarthy and Drake Maye? Is it fair to say, because Keim had previously just mentioned a little bit in his previous answer about JJ McCarthy, is it fair to say JJ would be the favorite over Drake Maye? To which Keim, is thinking, classic, goes, probably. And that's how he sort of lands. He talks a little bit more, but it seems like, KDot, this is all, if we're living in Keim's world and his current thoughts, it could come down to Jayden Daniels or JJ McCarthy. What do you think of that?
I think I've been lockstep with this administration. And the thing that is that these guys are very close. I do think it's a pick your favorite flavor not necessarily what's better than the other, right? So
Mhm.
it's like, what do you want to do? Drake Maye makes all the sense in the world. If you're going to be running an air raid style system, he's the one with the experience in it. Makes sense. His ceiling is extremely high.
But you don't draft for scheme.
You can't. I mean, you don't draft solely for scheme. It's one of the other things. If you have a long board of things you're looking at with a guy, maybe you look at scheme, but scheme should only be 5% of something you're looking at compared to what it is overall, right? Because you're a coach. You're supposed you hire coaches to coach and to teach. I think we mistake that sometimes. Raheem Morris did a good job. I remember him explaining that. It's Mike Tomlin the same way. Coaches are teachers. That's why you get into this. You're not. What Ron Rivera had a mistake with is that he thought it was a manager when he came here. Maybe he did have a lot to manage, but he got away from what it is to be a coach, which is teaching. If you don't know, I make up the learning gap and let's go. I motivate and make up the learning gap. So that's a very important. But once again, if you want somebody who, all right, it easily translate for Drake Maye. Plus, you can look at a lot of stuff that he could just do, but then he has the boneheaded decisions. You're just like, what the fuck, man? JJ McCarthy. I think the reason you do a top golf, bring top 30 people in there, is to watch JJ shine. That's a dude that, when you talk about the intangibles, he's a guy that, and I think that's what they're looking at is like, man, wow. Yeah, he really is a leader among men. He really is a dude that everybody kind of gravitates towards, right? But then you weigh that against, can he do any of the things that Jayden Daniels can do on the field? He can do some of them, not most of them. So like then you realize, all right, Jayden Daniels is the guy that they picked up from the airport, like personally or whatever the fuck, if you listen to those rumors or whatever. I just think they're weighing all their options with these guys. I really believe Adam Peters when he says the decision wasn't going to be made until now, early this week. Because I do think it is extremely close between these guys.
That's where we get into the language, KDot, right? Like, I don't think that you necessarily have it totally locked in before the Top Golf visit, but do you have a leaning? Certainly. Kaim admits to that as well. He's
You
like,
should have your board.
You surely don't have an idea of who you're, you should have an idea of who you're taking at that point.
Right.
So I think how close they are, we may never know, to be totally honest. If JJ gets taken, we'll definitely know that it was really close between the two of them. If Jayden's taken, I don't know that we know that necessarily. But we'll see what happens on Thursday.
I think
we'll
we know
also
it.
talk about it. I don't know that we do. I would love to hear your thoughts on why we know.
I think the Top Golf thing,
with certainty.
I do think it's the Top Golf thing. And the reason I say this is that what we did with Top Golf was different than what San Francisco or New England or anybody else did. Bringing in the top, outside of Caleb, the top quarterback prospects all at the same time, that's a little different. It's a little different. I'm not saying it's like, oh my God, these guys are so outside of the box, it's crazy. Once again, I loved it. If this is something I would do every single year if I was drafting, I honestly think you can learn something from it. And I don't like when people say that, like, well, like the Mike Florio take on this, I think is completely asinine.
I completely agree with you there.
Right. So like, but I do think maybe this is Adam Peters putting his own spin on stuff. Maybe this is Adam Peters listening to Dan Quinn and then putting their own spin on stuff. But I do think bringing in all of those guys, because what you see in the aftermath of the agent thing with Jayden Daniels is something that you have to, it's not the end all be all, but you do have there is something to rubbing necessarily the guy the wrong way if you think that he was supposed to be your guy. It's like when me and you used to talk about, when me and you talked over the last couple of weeks about this, if Jayden Daniels was frustrated by the Top Golf thing, I would understand it. Like, I get it. Like, I can understand that. And I don't want to have to work up or make up for that in any part of the process if it's not close. If it's not close, why the fuck would I put myself in that situation, right? That's what I'm looking at from that standpoint. If it's not close, there's no need to do this. There's no need to do it.
So I think it's still important to do. I think Adam Peters does this even if it's not close. So one thing about it is the Top Golf thing, as far as I know, I don't know when it began. So I don't know when they had pick 3 overall. If they took Trey Lance and Mac Jones to Top Golf, I have no idea. I know that they did it in 2022. That was the latest video I could find of him talking about Top Golf. So in 22, they did it. I don't know if they did it in 21. I don't know if they did it in 20, in 19.
With all the top quarterbacks, or
Potentially. Well, but they didn't have the pick at that time, is my point. So
right. But
right.
the thought process was what they typically did in San Francisco was a lot of what it is that we already talked about when it comes to the it's a lot of late rounders. A lot of late rounders. It's not here are the top prospects, the top 5 prospects on the draft board are all coming at the same time. That's rare. You might even do it for one position group, but quarterback is different. So like even the Giants brought in all the top receivers in the same day.
But like you said, there's no indication that quarterbacks should be different based on what the new front office is doing. We're learning too, right? And Josh Harris, this is his very first draft. I would want to be as thorough as possible, even if I do have a guy head and shoulders above. I want to be sure about
trust the process above it all. You're right. You are right. You should be able to trust the process.
Well, we're on the same page there. We both are,
you
like
know
Adam Peters. In Adam Peters we trust. Yeah, go ahead.
What I mostly think it is that I think they've done everything that I've wanted them to do so much to a T that I feel as though I'm like running a Kismet with. Like
I see. Okay.
So like,
I think that's fair because you've been on fire this offseason, just to be clear. So like,
I
get that. Yeah.
And hearing Adam Peters saying, yeah, we don't need to make a decision until we make a decision. Like, to me, that screams to me like, hey, these dudes are, because I honestly, I don't, but that's the other thing. And I drop in a comment mailbag if you think this is true. You had Caleb Williams at 4. The idea,
which we'll get into after the pod because he did move up for me after the pivot thing.
But the dudes that I respect the most when it comes to this shit have these guys close, and I think that's why I'm just there.
So, okay, and maybe we talk more about this after the pod as well, just because it is a fun back and forth. Let's go over to the comment mailbag. We'll chat more. Where we have quite a few comments from 2 videos, and we really appreciate you guys as always for those. And just a friendly reminder, KDot may not accept your comment come the live stream, but we'll see. Yes, he will. He most certainly will. So let's go ahead and jump over to those comments. Let's work backwards. Let's go ahead and do the most recent video first, just because there are the 4 comments over there. And then we'll go over to the top 6 quarterback rankings, because that smoothly goes into after the pod. We're talking about Caleb Williams and maybe more Jayden Daniels. So let's begin with Locked On Law. Shout out Locked On Law. Yes, there are a ton of wide receivers in this draft, but they are not all Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, or Rome Odunze. And that is true. So once again, those 3 guys are in a class of their own. And when you listen to draft experts, they are very much going to be top 10 players. Maybe one of them slips to 11 or something like that. But it seems like you're going to get 3 wide receivers going in the top 10, which doesn't happen every day. It speaks to their talent. Ben Robinson, again, was mentioning there are a ton of wide receivers in this draft, but in reference to the 2nd round and the 3rd round where you can get a lot of the value. So yes, they are not all those 3 wide receivers. We wouldn't expect them to be, but you could still get really good players in those rounds, was Ben's point. Go ahead, KDot.
Is there a Puka Nacua? Is there a Tariq Hill, 5th rounder? Is there an Antonio Brown without all the CTE? 6th rounder. Like, what I'm seeing with when they tell me that this is a deep wide receiver draft, and the way I've seen the position just trend makes me feel as though if you got somebody you like, we can take some flyers with some motherfuckers.
Yeah.
There's going to be some talent there. And the way the league itself works.
Guy I really like is Troy Franklin, because when we were doing the quarterback rankings, I was watching Bo Nix, and I came away going, yo, Troy Franklin's really good. The wide receiver over at Oregon. So, I
call him Clipper Franklin.
Then we go over to Locked On Law for one more. Shout out. They just signed 2 former high 1st-round picks to play defensive end in Dante Fowler Jr. and Cleveland Farrell. Are you sure that's a need? I keep hearing that, but I'm not convinced, is the comment. To which there is a quick reply from Demon 2K16 saying they have 1-year deals, so it is a need. I think aside from the 1-year deals, and Ben Robinson had mentioned this, and appreciate the comments, Locked On Law, is that you can never have too many. Injuries occur. You want to be able to keep people fresh, because getting after the quarterback completely shuts down an offense if you're able to do it. We know firsthand. We saw Sam Howell die last season. And you see him at the end of the season, he's a shadow of what he became midway through the season. The hits take a toll, and if you're able to get after an offensive line and they can't create, it's an offensive coordinator's nightmare. So you can never have too many. I completely agree with Ben Robinson there. Go ahead, KDot.
It's easily a top 5, maybe top 3 most important position in the NFL.
Reason it gets paid so highly.
Right. So if you cannot find one of the generational talents at that position, what you need to do is have the best possible rotation you can have.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We go over to Max Ewert. Shout out Max Ewert, who, fun fact, did the very first episode of District Divided with me. Shout out Max. Hail to Pitt, and that is an ode to Benjamin Robinson, of course, author of grindingthemocks.com, going to Pitt. Both of those guys, Pitt Panthers. So appreciate the comment there, Max. And then we conclude this round, this episode, if you will, with Blood Clot. Shout out Blood Clot and OG. With Adam Peters recently stating they were not trading down and were comfortable at the number 2 pick, which most are projecting to be Jayden Daniels, I think 2 teams could trade with the Bears to take the first overall pick to take Jayden. This is low-key genius move by Adam Peters to have Caleb drop down to him with 0 effort or picks. These 2 teams are the Vikings and Raiders. Vikings because they like Jayden Daniels and have the draft stock, and Raiders because of Antonio Pierce and because, like you said, they like to reach. KDot, I'll let you go first, and then I'll go with this one.
Who's playing quarterback? So, like, if you're Chicago and you get out of that position, who's the guy is going to throw all the expensive free agents and stuff you guys have just signed? All the signs point to they're going to make an upgrade at the quarterback position. Justin Fields is no longer there. Mm-hmm. I don't see a scenario in which they're moving off of one unless it's to move to somewhere else in the top 4. And it's just because they love the top 4 quarterbacks that much, but they have to leave here with a top talent.
No, more specifically. So Blood Clot, I'm going to disagree with you. They have to leave here with Caleb Williams.
You're right.
You look at the top 30 visits, they brought one quarterback. His name, Caleb Williams. They did not even look at anybody else, just to be clear. So if it's not Caleb, not only are they trading back, which is quite an interesting move. I don't care how many first rounders they get. They are then taking a quarterback that they did not speak to one-on-one really. And so that stuff matters a ton. There is a reason his draft odds are so short. It's because the Bears have more or less said we're taking him. Yep. And Caleb, anytime he's on anything, has gone, Chicago is going to be awesome. Is going to be like, it's happening. It is absolutely happening. So just want to, unfortunately, have to push back there at Blood Clot. Agree to disagree on that one. I don't see any way in which the Bears trade that pick. But we will hear from Blood Clot again shortly. We go over to the other video, which is, again, our top 6 quarterback rankings, beginning with Rez1966. Shout out, Rez. Good stuff, fellas. Shared y'all to the Discord to all my Commander comrades. Appreciate it. I'm really glad I said Caleb Williams was the 4th best quarterback on this episode that's being shared. KDot, your thoughts?
Thanks for sharing us on Discord. Amit did lose his fucking mind.
We go over to Blood Clot again. Shout out Blood Clot OG. Give me Jayden Daniels and that fucked up elbow. That thing looks like a broken wing at Buffalo Wild Wings or a praying mantis arm, and I'll gladly take him at number 2 overall. But please, please tell me the scouts vetted his slide capabilities. I can't go through that RG3 situation again. If we don't pick Daniels and pick someone completely unexpected, I wouldn't be mad, but intrigued as to what management saw to cut against the grain of all the hype. But yeah, Jayden. Okay, so
he knows how to slide. He just chooses not to a lot.
Yeah, he's trying to, speaks to the athleticism. He does need to slide a lot more. Let's be clear. He needs to slide a lot more. If we take him, that's the franchise. Like, he needs to slide. Vindo, OG. Caleb at 4 is crazy. Not going to lie. Dudes is insane. Yep. We'll get into that after the pod. If we go over to Tiger 0366. I'm willing to put myself out there in case you guys didn't know. We go over to Tiger 0366. Shout out. Daniels is the best choice because he is the best at running for his life since you guys did not fix the offensive line is the comment. KDot, your reaction to that comment.
I think I zoned out.
Daniels is the best choice because he is the best at running for his life since you guys did not fix the offensive line.
No, see, that's the thing. Is like I can feel. Maybe that's why I tuned it out because I can sense cynicism. And anytime I sense cynicism, that's hard to say. Sensing cynicism. Just turns me off.
Okay.
Turns me off.
I will say we have, just to review some of the stuff we've done.
Guys.
Nick Allegretti,
yes.
Tyler Biotish. These are good players, especially Tyler Biotish, just
right?
To be clear.
And the draft coming.
A lot of offensive tackles have visited the Commanders a strong offensive tackle class. I wouldn't say that we haven't fixed it just yet. In any case, KDot and I are both in agreement. We don't want the number 2 overall pick starting day one if it's up to us. So he won't have to run for his life. JJ wouldn't have to run for his life. Drake Maye would not have to run for his life. Bo Nix would not have to run for his life. They can wait a year.
Drake Maye doesn't have to run for his life. It's a big boy.
Well, we go over to Tech VOF. Shout out. Jayden Daniels is the perfect quarterback now since the NFL does not want the defense to tackle anymore. Okay, so we've got the other side of that. Nice little rib at the new hip tackle rule, that hip drop tackle, because I think someone got hurt. I forgot who, and that was it was Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews, I think, was the
last big one.
Was the last big one that got hurt there. Shout out for the comment. We go over to Pally for Life.
Uh-oh.
I think Stephen A got this one wrong. LeBron has surpassed Kobe and MJ in so many ways. LeBron is also a true student of the game of basketball. Now on to more important / relevant subjects. Who is the GOAT NBA actor? I have included some nominees below. LeBron James in Trainwreck and Space Jam, A New Legacy. Shaquille O'Neal with Kazam, Steel and Blue Chips. Michael Jordan with Space Jam. Kevin Durant with Thunderstruck. Wilt Chamberlain with Conan the Destroyer. And Ray Allen, he got game. I'll only say this. If you don't have Kevin Durant at number 1 and Ray Allen at number 6, you know nothing of cinema, Monsieur X. Shout out. All right. KDot, go ahead.
Are they allowed to be people that play themselves? So
Sure.
like, I want to say,
LeBron played himself in Trainwreck, right?
Oh, right. And Space Jam.
Yeah.
And Michael Jordan played himself in Space Jam. So I guess that
there you go.
works.
Yeah. So they are.
Kevin Garnett and Uncut Gems.
Oh, it was very good.
He was incredible.
Very, very good.
Anthony Edwards in the movie Hustle.
I thought he was so good.
He was awesome.
I had a reaction to when he was like waving at oh my gosh. So for me, just recency bias, Anthony Edwards, I thought was really, really good. That would be my answer to it.
Underrated John Sally, Bad Boys 1 and 2. He plays the nerd guy on the keyboard that does the hacking and stuff for Will Smith. And
did I ever tell you what I thought of Bad Boys 1 and 2?
No.
Yeah, because I haven't seen them, as you know. So that would be the reason why. We go over.
Underrated is Kyrie Irving and Uncle Drew. I actually think it is.
That was fun. That was fun. We go over to Jess Anto. Appreciate the comment, as always, Pally for Life. Jess Anto, another OG now. I apologize for the name blunder. Seriously, don't worry about it. It's totally fine. I'm really looking forward to watching the new regime attack this draft, hopefully with us on the live stream. I'm anticipating a lot of movement from them. I don't think we realize how bad of a job Rivera's regime really did. I think we do realize how bad of a job Rivera's regime really did, but we'll see. Granted, 9 out of 10 teams would have drafted Chase Young, but a lot of their picks were such a waste. We have no players on this team from the 2020 draft. McLaurin, Tressway, Deron Payne, and Jonathan Allen were already here before they got here. In 4 years, the only standout players that Rivera drafted and that are still on the team were Cosme, Dotson, Forrest, and Robinson. I think Martin and Forbes hit the lottery with the new coaching staff and have a chance to unlearn what the old staff taught them and have a chance to completely change their careers' trajectories. To be honest, I'd love to see a bunch of trade-ups from Peters and co. This is a top-heavy draft in positions this team needs. When you are drafting a quarterback with the number 2 overall pick, you cannot fuck around with the left tackle position in this division. We watched Rivera and co. blatantly ignore the O-line and linebackers for 4 years and foolishly expected different results. I hope Peters can find a partner to trade back into the first and acquire a top-tier left tackle, like Olu Fashanu, another local guy. Actually, fun fact, Caleb Williams, left tackle over at Gonzaga. I don't care if it takes next year's first and a second and a 5th this year. You have to protect and develop that number 2 overall quarterback. I think we have a total of 9 picks this year. We do. I'd be happy walking away from this draft with 4 studs picked out of the first 3 rounds: quarterback, left tackle, edge rusher, corner, and wide receiver. Like I said, I don't know what route they are taking at right tackle. They completely revamped and added depth to the interior of the offensive line. With the free agents that they brought in, they bolstered a lot of depth at a lot of positions. So the need for later round picks isn't really there and could be addressed by undrafted players. Tight end and corner could use some attention, but I don't think they will make a priority this draft. They could want to see what Joe Witt, can do with Emmanuel Forbes and Benjamin St. Juste with Quan Martin at nickel. I have the feeling Zach Ertz and Terry McLaurin are going to hit it off and become dynamic together. Certainly see that. Hopefully, Armani Rogers and Cole Turner can make a comeback. Everyone knows you're not going to address every hole in a roster in one offseason, especially the state of this roster that Ron Rivera left it in. They've done an excellent job in free agency addressing starters and backups. If they can solidify 4 starting spots in this draft, it would be the equivalent of what Ron Rivera has drafted in 3 years. If they draft a legitimate starting quarterback in this draft, it would be the first time since Cousins in 2012. KDot, your reaction to the comment while I drink some water.
Jess, it sounds like you need a podcast, but wow. Those were thoughts. I didn't disagree with almost any of it. Yeah. Great. You better be there for the fucking live stream, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So I read that.
You have a man over there looking like he just ate a 6-pack of Popeye's biscuits, just dry as shit.
The water did help a lot. I thoroughly appreciate the comment there, Jess.
A lot of thought put into his comments. I appreciate
always. Oh, and that's why we love him. And so, and it is a good point that, I mean, especially the last draft, it was very frustrating looking at the different players and feeling like we weren't getting adequate production for where we're taking these guys. You know, it was nice to see Emmanuel Forbes start playing more and more at the end of the season. Quan Martin had a few takeaways, which was really cool to see. But yeah, you know, it's been a tough few drafts.
I am not killing the drafts as much as I'm killing the coaching period.
That's what I'm referring to.
Just I think that's the thing. So if I look at all the years of I don't know. I can call them busts, but I call them busts because of the coaching.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I would agree with that. We talk about it being, you know, situational for almost all these guys. Let's be real. Like Bryce Young looked great at Alabama. Then he went to Carolina, where in order to even get him, they had to trade DJ Moore, who would have been his number 1 target, and the offensive line wasn't good. That's called being dumb, folks. Like, that is just what happens. And now Bryce Young maybe learn some bad habits. Once again, why we kind of want our guy to sit, you know, just so that you don't learn those bad habits. You can. There is such a thing as going in too early. Absolutely. Okay. So just want to say that.
But that's a majority of bust levels for the quarterback position. To me, a true bust is one that doesn't put forth any effort to learn. You're Jamarcus Russell.
Okay, there we go. 2 more. Shout out to @R_Rcash. Once he said Caleb at 4, that was me. I stopped watching everything they said after is invalid. The black dude said Chicago, that's you, is a bad situation where QBs go to die. So what would be the better situation? It ain't the fucking Commanders. What have they done and what QBs have they developed? And it damn sure ain't the Patriots, is the comment from @R_Rcash. Your comment.
Dead on as far as the Caleb Williams stuff. Beyond that, if I'm not mistaken, if they took Sam Howell's season from last year, any one of the Kirk Cousins season, it would probably be a top 3, if not the greatest season in the history of a Chicago Bear quarterback.
Yeah, the Sam Howell season in terms of yardage, he would have set the franchise record last year for the Bears.
Get the fuck up!
We go over to Nelson Wolf. Shout out. He is going to be on the live stream talking about the Minnesota Vikings picks, or pick if they move up. So he will be on. Shout out. Long overdue. Talk about an OG of the pod. There before the video days, just to be clear. So he's been around forever. Shout out Nelson. Caleb Williams at 4. Lord have mercy. Amit, that take will either age spectacularly or absolutely horrendously with little room in between. And that wraps up the comment mailbag. I completely agree with that. That wraps up the comment mailbag. KDot, if you have any final words.
No.
This was District Divider, DC Sports Podcast. More specifically, a Washington Commanders podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, comment as you always do, and KDot,
be there for the fucking live stream and then share this shit.
We greatly appreciate you guys. Looking forward to seeing you all on Thursday, 7:45 p.m. on YouTube. After the pod begins right now. Ooh, what an episode.
How long have we been potting? I know we did our pre-production beforehand, but this feels like the longest podcast.
Yeah, this one may be 2 hours, just to be clear. I don't know. But it's a big one.
No, it's big. It's big. It's big.
It's a big one. People want to know.
No, it's good.
We went through an entire mock draft. Then we talked about Jayden Daniels. We talked about Topgolf. We talked about Kime. We talked about Caleb Williams at 4. We talked about it all.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool. I
Or you
wanted
had
to
Caleb take, right?
Yeah. So, as you know, I do believe Caleb has happy feet, as we described earlier.
He doesn't, but okay.
My belief, my ranking. Thank you very much.
Don't say belief. You're like a fucking Fox News commenter. Like, don't do that shit.
Listen. Okay. I have
Facts.
called out Caleb Williams for sort of being, he gave me a weird vibe in terms of just the way that he speaks and sort of carries himself. And I've wondered how that type of stuff can translate into a locker room, an NFL locker room, to be clear. I think at the collegiate level and I think at the high school level, he was far and away the best player on the field all the time. I questions, would that be the case in the NFL? I knew nothing of his mindset and stuff like that. So the Pivot actually interviewed him, and it came out a few days ago. And I watched the whole thing. I really enjoyed it. The one viral clip that came out was him talking about how he was really frustrated and disappointed that he didn't start day 1 at Oklahoma. Did you see that?
I saw a bit of that, yeah.
Okay. And Ryan Clark. So basically, they're talking about adversity and, times where he's really, maybe struggled or been frustrated or disappointed. And so he answered with a couple different things. And then he had mentioned that. And Ryan Clark goes, hold on, Spencer Rattler was at Oklahoma, right? And he goes, yep. And he goes, and he was a projected first-round pick at the time. Caleb goes, yep. And he goes, well, hold on. Why'd you choose to go there? He goes, development. And then Ryan is still processing this. He's like, hold on, this guy was potentially number 1 overall. And he's like, why did you have a problem? And he goes, because I am the best in the country. And it was, KDot, we've talked about a sense of entitlement, and we've talked about extreme self-confidence. As I got to know the guy, his mindset is unbelievable. I have
it.
Yes. And that's what was missing for me. Is like, I know that it doesn't make him number 1, just to be clear. It does not. It does not.
Is he still number 4?
He's not number 4.
Okay. Cool.
He's not number 4. Holy cow. There was a moment where he literally, like, it was borderline terrifying listening to him. He's got a lot of self-confidence. I love that. And also that irrational confidence going into Oklahoma and being disappointed that he didn't start over potentially the number 1 overall pick is the type of shit I'm looking for. I love that. Okay. I love it. Other people were like, this is arrogant. I'm like, yeah, that's what you want. I just, like, you look at Patrick. Yeah, it is a balance, and he needs to be able to develop and do that. But hearing his story about how he had an apartment in high school in DC and lived away from his family, I was like, that's crazy.
Making that drive down to Gonzaga.
Yeah, I mean, but still, I mean, he's 14, 15, whatever. He's staying there. I mean, on his own.
You see his place in LA.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So, so my introduction to Caleb Williams on that level is David Dobrik. Do you know who David Dobrik is?
I've heard the name many times, but
so
no.
David Dobrik was like one of if not the biggest YouTuber. Now he's just like officially exclusively on Snapchat.
Okay.
But he does prank videos, just funny vlog. It was David's vlog on YouTube. Great videos. Now he's more of a controversial figure because of some stuff that was happening around him. But Caleb was always there. So like you're talking about, they would be constantly around the USC campus, and who shows up with his fingernail paint and like a $200,000 car? Oh, it's Caleb. And he's there to come party or do whatever, right? And just the way that he conducted himself amongst all the craziness that was always around him was like, that's a dude that's got it fucking together. I've never been concerned as far from a personality standpoint. I think
because I was.
But I think I still think the biggest thing is, it is something that I alluded to a little while ago. And it wasn't I forget where I heard it from. I think I've said it on the pod a few weeks ago. But this is the world's introduction to your first truly Gen Z guy at this level. They're a different breed, man. They're a different kind of cat. Is this not me saying like, oh my God, the new generation of world is over sort of thing? It's just getting used to the new generation.
Yeah.
These dudes they're very matter of fact.
Oh yeah.
They don't bullshit. Like millennials, we're still in that like, oh, there's a way to say stuff, right? There's a
Well,
way.
so yeah, no, just sorry, because that does remind me of there were a couple things where I went, whoa, okay, be careful now, because Caleb interrupted them multiple times to make his point, and I mean, hey, coming from an Indian family, you're getting your ass whooped if you do that. Just to be clear, um, he he's got a lot of anger. I was sort of surprised by that. I was like, this is kind of
edge. He's got
yes,
edge.
yes, to an extent, yes. But if you have too much, like nothing hasn't gone his way as far as I know, because he even said so. I can do anything and everything I want is a direct quote from that Pivot podcast. And
I don't
at
think you
that
knew
point,
enough
I
about
was
young
like,
Mahomes.
holy cow. No, I know, but that's why I can understand the comps.
You understand
because
the comps better
mindset,
now.
yes,
Yeah,
completely.
okay.
Because the mindset's there. His screensaver having, the discipline thing, I thought that was cool. That's great. And then having Super Bowl times 8. Like, here's the thing. A lot of people have ambition. Not a lot of people have the cachet and the talent and pedigree that he possesses.
Agreed.
It is sort of a mama mentality. Like, he is very much focused. And so I do think if he hits bumps, I do expect him to overcome it. I am still curious from a leadership standpoint in the locker room. If things are not going well and they have a losing season, let's say, how is that taken? How is his personality rubbing people? Like, I am curious about that still because of all the anger I saw. So I think he'll end up being fine. I do think he'll end up being fine. But I'm really glad I saw it, and I'm really glad, shout out the Pivot, because I thought it was awesome. And it definitely made me change my future outlook on him. I think if he does have issues in the NFL, he's so dialed in, he'll be able to fix them. That's mindset. That's the most important thing. You can fix the stuff if you are locked in. He's locked in. I am curious to see how Gen Z QB fits into this type of locker room.
What should be tattooed on Caleb is I hate losing more than I love winning.
Yes, that is a takeaway I certainly got from that.
But I do think that that's the same thing that Tom Brady has. It's the same thing Patrick Mahomes has. It's the same thing these guys have. And if you're really, it's the same thing Michael Jordan had. It's the same thing Kobe Bryant had. The same thing JJ McCarthy has. It's the idea is no, it is not a good thing to be around them when they're losing. It is not. No, it's not going to be good for anybody. But it's the same way that. Do you remember the Kobe Bryant years post Shaq when the team sucked and he was being an asshole?
Yeah.
When he was like, "Oh, you guys want me to pass the ball? I'm not taking a shot this entire game just to prove to you I'm going to be a fucking problem. I'm going to be a headache. I'm going to be miserable to be around."
Yeah.
And yeah, but here's what you know. When you do put the squad around them, when you are able to get the best out of them, guess what you got? A chance to be in the fucking finals every year.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Brady. Yeah. Look, looking back at the Tom Brady years of the New England Patriots, he took pay cuts all these times, right? Come to find out, Robert Kraft was still one of the least spending owners in all of the NFL. I think in the last decade, he's 32nd. All owners as far as spending.
Amazing.
It's insane. But there's
what's the lesson there, folks? Marry a supermodel.
There's that. But we might have a lean year. But I'm going to be so miserable to fucking be around. You guys are going to go find another fucking team. This is not okay.
He did say he loves Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers rubs people the wrong way too. I mean, like there's
the Rodgers thing there's a bit of that with Rodgers. The only thing with Rodgers is I just never thought it was as good as some of these other guys. I thought it was fake. So like there's like he does some spectacular things, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But I don't think that he makes the people around him better.
Sure.
But the Mahomes, name a losing Mahomes season.
I can't.
But I'll tell you right now, if those motherfuckers go 4-12,
Oh yeah, and that was the thing.
Going to be some people. There are going to be some heads that roll, some people that say some terrible things about Mahomes.
Hey, I tell you what. Okay, so but here's the thing with Mahomes, and maybe this comes with maturity, and I would absolutely buy that argument because as you get older, you realize, hey, those connections, relationships matter a hell of a lot. It's not all just me. The quarterback series was awesome in that you get a look at him when he's with his family, and they do interview him separately, and he goes, "Yeah, I want to do X, Y, and Z. I believe I'm the best." Maybe not even I believe. I am the best, and I want to prove it. Cincinnati, maybe not the best matchup for us in the playoffs, but I want them. Give me Cincinnati. Like, that stuff's great. This past season, numerous drops from the wide receivers. Not once did he throw them under the bus. Not once. Not post-game, not even during the game. Sure, there was that moment of frustration with Kadarius Toney when it turned into an interception when they played against the Patriots. I remember that. Yeah, he threw his helmet. Frustration will ultimately get to you. That's fine. But not once did he do it publicly. Not once did he have such a quick fuse, if you will. The only time he's ever had a quick fuse is when he's been hurt. And they're like, hey, we need to check you out in the blue tent. And he goes, fuck you. I want to play right now. We talked about it. That, to me, is why Mahomes is Mahomes. Like, he's got that talent. He protects his guys. And he knows ultimately if I'm my best, I'm good.
Think back to what I said. What did I say the tattoo on Caleb Williams should say?
I hate losing more than I love winning.
Mahomes can have the same tattoo. What you start realizing is it's not just I can do anything on this field. It won't mean a fucking bit of difference if there are not other guys to step up to.
My thing is, as a Gen Z quarterback, right? Or as one with, to me, what I perceive, this is all perception, just a guess. Very little patience, which can be a good thing. It could also be a bad thing, depending on how you react to it, right?
No, I don't think the patience is a Gen Z thing. I think the lack of patience when it comes to the winning thing is just part of that factor.
Okay. I'm speaking more specifically to Caleb Williams and my perception of Caleb.
Yeah, no, but I would say that the patience thing is something none of these guys have, Mahomes included.
Right, but they're not cutting people off while they're talking. Like, that happened multiple times during that interview. I was surprised by that.
Yeah, here's the thing. If you start looking at some of the interactions, especially on Netflix quarterback with Mahomes and some of his family, he cuts people off. He'll tell you, like, I'm not listening to what anybody's saying because I'm on my own fucking mind right now.
That's fine. Like, that's fine.
The only thing that I'm telling you is the difference is when I compare that so on a basketball court, you can be good enough to win by yourself. You could just be that good. Here's what you won't do. You won't win a championship because the 7-game series will eliminate all that shit, right? You can't by yourself do that. But you can get to the playoffs. You can be the best player in the league. You can get your team to one of the best records in the NBA by yourself if you're that fucking good. When it comes to playoff time, you won't. In the NFL, what these guys, the guys that transcend, that's where we go as far as that fake it that I talk about with Aaron Rodgers, right?
Yeah.
When you realize the only way to win a Super Bowl is to get the other guys to play up to your level. You can't denigrate them. You can't yell at them. You can't do anything.
Correct.
But Tom Brady, if you ask Tom Brady, like, what makes it so you can get there is the same thing that CJ Stroud learned this last season. I got to get them to buy in. I got to make everybody better. Yes. I have to make everybody better. But that's part of the mentality, right?
Yeah.
If Kobe Bryant played football, he'd have that.
Yeah, and Caleb will have his way of doing it because it seems unique to me. That too. So Chicago is the spot itself. Let's say it's a bad rookie year. Are they turning over the coach? Probably, right? And so then we get into an interesting territory for sure.
No, then you can have your Aaron Rodgers situation, which is where there's no one with enough cachet to check him. There's no one with enough cachet.
The point.
I love him here. I love him under Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury and Adam Peters. Because I think these motherfuckers they will check him. A Bobby Wagner will check his ass.
Yes. From the leadership standpoint, yes. We are built to be able to. That is fair. Or we are as good a place to be able to do it is what I'll say. Because
Chicago
I do think
make him a god.
But that's the thing. There is such a demon in him, and I'm both fascinated by it and like a holy shit, he could be the greatest. And also this dude could explode in 2 years, like internally, if things aren't going well quickly. So I'm so.
But I think he's a nice guy. I think he's a good guy.
I'm not doubting him being a good guy. I'm talking about the competitor.
I question that about Aaron.
That's fair. All I said was that Caleb likes watching Aaron play. That's all I said. He
As you
mentioned
should.
that.
He's great to watch.
Of course, exactly. But I'm speaking to Caleb, the competitor. Can he manage that emotion? Because if he can, I think he has everything it takes to be excellent.
Yeah, it's just how that's the thing. You either got it or you're faking it. And like Aaron Rodgers to me is faking it.
Yeah, I don't know that I wouldn't say Caleb's faking it. I think it just looks different. And I haven't seen it look like this. And so there's uncertainty there for me.
The motivating to get in the teamwork is all part of it. It's all part of it. But being angry when you're losing, that's part of it too.
I'm not saying being angry when you're losing. I'm angry when I lose. I'm saying people being angry when they lose, no problem. It is how far does that go to the point that it's detrimental?
It can go as far as it needs to go. I will never look at that part of it as something bad.
Oh, okay. So that's where you and I'll differ. I think there are moments where it can actually be so bad that you are now doing more harm than good. Everyone hates losing, especially at that level. But
here's the thing. Any one of the guys that we talk about having it for the greatest factor, guess what they didn't do? They didn't sustain the lose. It wasn't allowed.
I'm not saying sustain losing.
No, but I think this is where you're fundamentally not understanding, because you had Caleb at 4, which means that there might be a barrier for you to ever understand this part of it.
Could be.
Caleb's in that category for me. I don't think he will lose.
Okay, I see. But what if he did? You just think it's impossible?
If it does, I think it's short-lived. Like the thing to me
I could see that. Yeah.
The thing with me with Chicago is Chicago is the most perfect storm potentially of things going bad, which is why I'm afraid. It is it is the most, because I really do think Caleb is bulletproof. But the thing to me is, like, Chicago in a lame duck situation, do you catapult this kid to godlike status too quickly? Have him maybe have
did it with RG3.
Say, have him potentially have too much say. Does he get to have any
personality wise? I see some similarities. Like, I mean, it's that's I think what's clicking in my brain. And then
your career's over before you even got a chance to show it. You see what I'm saying? So like,
I see exactly what you're saying. That's where I'm coming from. Like, I'm not saying that tolerating losing. Don't tolerate losing.
But my point is, it's not him. That's my point. It will never be because of him. It's not him. It'll be the coaching situation.
Yeah, yelling it's not him over and over. Hold on. Right. Okay, so understood. I want to understand. So yeah, I would agree that it's probably coaching. It will be coaching. Rookie year, it will be coaching. And like, yeah, maybe he has a couple bad games against really good defenses. That is allowed. He is a rookie. It is fine. You know, what I'm saying is it is my hope for him that because, and this is me not understanding, it's new, right? This type of mindset. I'm also trying to figure it out watching him. But it is my hope that he doesn't go alienating people he actually needs around him. I don't know that will happen, but it is something that just came up for me is all I was saying. That is
so it. My direct counter to that, or my direct response to that, if those people feel alienated by him,
then they should go. Yeah, I got it.
Right. So that's my thing, is that they are losers and they need to go.
So if we project 3 years out, then he would have the necessary people around him to be successful.
My hope.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. That would be my hope too, because I think it could be fun having a freak in the NFC. Like, I do wish that freak would be with us, obviously, but like, you know, having that type of talent, you could have Caleb versus Mahomes for years. Like, it could get very, very fun in that respect.
Mahomes does not have the strongest arm. He's not the fastest. He's not the most elusive. He's not anything, but yet he's our best quarterback.
I mean, when he needs to be, he is all of those things.
Like, that's it.
So we'll see if Caleb has that level of it. But it was a really cool interview.
I think so. It
was a really cool
interview. Mahomes lucked out, like, with the situation. It was just perfect for him to be able to do everything he needed to do, right?
Sure.
Brady lucked out as far as being able to have the thing. Yeah, it's usually got to be the perfect combination of a lot of things. But like, you look at, like, I think Cam Newton had it.
Oh, Cam Newton definitely had it.
And Carolina did everything they possibly could do to fuck him over.
To take away the it. Yeah. Oh man. But anyway, I just wanted to point that out, that I was very fascinated and captivated by that interview. I thought it was super cool.
I'm
I
just
thought
glad
it
he's
was-
not number 4 on your list anymore.
He's no longer number 4 on my list. He would probably, so if I were to re-rank them, I would go, so Jayden's still 1 for me. I would then go, I don't know why you're laughing at that. Some people, hey, other people have Jayden 1 also.
Do me a
not
favor,
me.
just as soon as we're done, if you don't have something you got to do pressing,
Well, I gotta
please
edit
go to
this.
YouTube. All right,
Yeah.
fair enough. Please go to YouTube and look up Ben Solak break down the top quarterback prospects. Start at Jayden.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Start at Jayden. Or
Tell you
just
what.
if you don't want to watch the video, pull up the article at least.
Oh yeah, no,
Where
I'll
you're
definitely do that. Hey, I'm always trying to get on the same page, or at least understand the same stuff that we're all discussing. It's difficult for me to comment when I don't have the full information myself that I've looked at. That's all.
Fair enough.
But on that note, because we could talk forever, and I think we more or less have, maybe the longest episode ever.
We're about
Live
to do
stream. We're already
even longer than
practicing
live
for
stream.
it.
Yeah, no
so
shit.
we'll see you guys later. Thank you guys so much for listening. See you Thursday. Take it
Bye,
easy.
everybody.
In DC, we're just hoping that you listen.